Vi er stolte af vores historie, vores bedrifter, vores ophav. Vi er taknemmelige for dem, der har skabt os. I dag er vi HB Køge. Stolte af fortiden. Vi er fremtiden.
Velkommen indenfor til den tredje videopodcast fra HB Køges side her hos Køge TV og podcast. I dag skal vi gøre noget, som vi ikke har prøvet før. Vi skal snakke tæt med en af vores spillere. Det er Emma Regan fra HB Køges kvindehold, som vi vil forsøge at tegne et lille portræt af Emma, der har fået en rigtig stor rolle på holdet. Skal vi lære lidt bedre at kende. Men inden vi går i gang, og inden jeg slår over i det engelske, som Emma, der er fra Canada, foretrækker at snakke på, så skal vi altså lige have præsenteret de to sponsorer på udsendelsen her.
Denne videopodcast vises i samarbejde med vores sponsorer. Skovsen i den hvide by i Køge. BDO på Nørregade i Køge.
And then it's time to say welcome to you, Emma.
Thank you
for joining me here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, sure. I invited you because something big has happened. You've made your comeback to the Canada women's national team. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
First of all, can you just describe for us what does that mean for you and for you as a professional footballer to play for your national team and a big one like the Canadian one?
Yeah, it's amazing. And I hadn't been in, like you said, in a couple years. So to get the call back was really a special moment for me. And I was just really happy that I got to get the opportunity to play at that level again. And it's really great for my career. And hopefully I get the opportunity to be called back.
And I guess a lot of people here in Køge know what the Danish Kvindeliga is like. They know the level of HB Køge. Can you just describe for us what is the Canada national team like?
It's great. I mean, I played with many of the players growing up through youth teams, and obviously some are a bit older, so some that I'm not as familiar with. But it's just a great environment. A lot of very talented players that play all over Europe, all over the United States as well. So it's a really good mix of people and people that play in different environments. It's definitely physical, fast-paced, but the environment here is that as well. So it's prepared me very well.
And you're reigning Olympic champions, right?
Yes, that's right.
So it is quite a big national team,
yeah.
To state that as well. And obviously, it's a couple of weeks ago you played against Brazil. That's quite a big national team as well, I guess. What was it like?
Yeah, it was a bit surreal lining up across from Marta. Players of that caliber, I'm sure, even if you don't know the Brazilian national team, you've probably heard of her. So that was definitely a very challenging game, very fast-paced, lots of defending, and trying to block Marta's shot is not the easiest, but I was able to kind of do that. And once I got that under my belt, it was a great game. So, and we actually got the win in that game, so that was really, really positive for us as a Canadian national team, and hopefully we can continue to get good results going forward.
Yep, maybe one of the, I guess, I don't know for you, but one of the biggest stars ever in women's football,
yeah.
I guess, Marta.
Yeah, for sure.
That's huge. And like you said, you had played once before for the national team. That was 5 years ago. I just checked up against Cuba. Can you just describe that experience for you as well, just to put things into perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a while ago now, so tough to remember. But yeah, that was my first cap, so lots of nerves, and I got subbed on at halftime, and I was actually a defender back then, so very different landscape for me as opposed to being in the midfield now. But lots of similar players around me on the national team at that point. It was actually a Danish coach at the time. But that was a great experience, and I'm glad to have done that. But I think I'm a very different player now, and hopefully able to live up to a bit of a higher caliber and compete against teams like Brazil.
Yeah, that's a bit of the stuff I wanted to talk to you about, the development you have made throughout your career. But why don't we just go all back and before all this happened and you came here to Køge, can you just start all over? Tell us how did who is Emma and what's your background? How did you start playing football?
Yeah, I started when I was 6 years old in Vancouver, Canada. So very far away place than where I am now. But my parents were both very athletic. And so they got me and my two younger sisters into football at an early age. And I kind of never really looked back once I started playing those first couple years. And then the area that I lived in, there was an academy team. They got a lot of us together eventually. And so that was a really good development place for me to be competing against the best just on an everyday training basis. And then eventually the national team came calling, and that was amazing. I think when I was 13 or 14, first camp in there, and the youth national team playing all through that was an amazing experience with a lot of the same players that I had grown up with that are also on the senior national team today. So we go way back, and it's good that we've had that development together. And then, I made the decision to play in college in the United States, in Texas, which was a great experience. There was a Canadian coach there and another Canadian player that I went with. So that was a really kind of easy transition for me, and had a lot of fun there. And then once it was time to go professional, this team also came knocking, and it's been just an amazing experience so far. I've been here for almost a year. So I think I kind of haven't planned this all out in my head. You kind of can't, but it's ended up working really well. Every time that one experience was kind of closing, another door opened, and that takes me here.
Yeah. How big is football or do you say football?
Soccer,
yeah. You obviously say soccer. How big is that in Vancouver and in America compared to here? Because, it's on the rise here, but so far it's not the biggest thing ever with especially female players playing football.
Yeah, I think it's definitely on the rise in Canada and the U.S. The U.S. especially, I think it's a top sport for girls, and in Vancouver it was also. And I think a lot of boys maybe are playing hockey or other sports like that, but soccer is one of the most popular for girls. So I think it just is amazing that the senior national teams in Denmark and Canada and the US have just paved the way for younger players. And I think it's only getting easier and easier to have the opportunities that they necessarily didn't have when they were young and growing up. So I'm really thankful for the timing of myself coming of age and to be going to college and to be in a professional environment, because there definitely weren't these opportunities even 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Because just the fact that you can play when you go to college, when you go to university, you don't really do that in Europe or in Denmark, at least.
Right.
So can you just describe for us what is the priorities when you do that? Is because we have seen a lot of good players who have played university football or college football. So what are the preferences? How high do you prioritize to play football compared to do your studies?
I think studies, everyone would like to say, comes first. I was definitely very interested in getting a degree. I mean, being a professional athlete as a woman is not necessarily a lifelong career. So even for men, I mean, people get injured, lots of stuff happens. So I was very adamant about getting my degree. And so I did a business degree, and that was great. And so I think I always have something that I can come back to or do when I retire. But I think sort of in the middle of college, it really clicked for me that I was very, very adamant about going pro. And that was priority number one, especially towards the end as I was a senior. It was definitely about setting myself up the best to continue playing after college. But it's a balance for sure. It can be tough, challenging to balance studies and travel and soccer and all of that. But I think it's potentially a bit of a better setup here that you can go professional when you're younger and finish high school, and then kind of be really priority number one is your sport. But I also think there's merits to getting your degree. And so I'm happy with the route I chose, and it's gotten me to a good place. So no regrets.
And obviously there's quite a lot of young girls or women who finish their studies and then want to give it a shot to go pro.
Right.
How do you do that? Because the numbers are huge in terms of how many female footballers are there actually in the States or in Americas compared to here.
Yeah, I mean, I did go in the draft for the NWSL, the American League, but being an international player, even as a Canadian, I I'm considered international. And so that's very tough. There's not a lot of spots on each team. And so not a lot of us get drafted, which was fine with me. I kind of preferred to go to Europe and experience life here and travel and just be in a different setting than, the US or Canada. So yeah, it's a tough transition, but I think the soccer world is small-ish, and a lot of people know a lot of people. So I think it's all about connections. And if you know a coach or a player that has played at a club, which I did, that kind of makes it a lot easier to get your foot in the door and then keep moving up as you go.
And that connection to HB Køge was Sport, because you played it in TSS Rovers. Can you just describe for us what sort of a club is that, except we know it's a Sport club?
Yeah, I played in their academy when I was very young, maybe 11, 12. And then eventually, I think over the summer, when I was back home from college, played on their semi-professional league that's in Canada, in Vancouver. So yeah, I've had kind of been connected to that club since a young age. And that was a great connection to HB Køge.
Yeah. So do you know actually what happened? Who recommended you, or how were you, put in touch with people over here?
I'm not sure what that connection was, but as I mentioned, there was also a Danish coach, Kenneth, who was our national team coach when I was called up the first time. And so I think he knew our previous head coach here. And so there was a connection there. And, I'm not going to ask questions. I'm just happy it happened. So yeah, I think those connections are, when it works out, they're great.
And I guess, we all love Køge now, but maybe you didn't know much about Køge when you heard about the club first.
No.
So what did you find out? What did you hear about the city and the area here?
Yeah, I kind of talked to some players and the coaches, obviously, before I signed to come here, and just described it as a really lovely kind of smaller town, but close to Copenhagen, and lots of great supporters and fans that are very into the team here, which was evident as soon as I got here. So it's been amazing. I've really loved it. The fans are great, the facility, and we really love the vibe of the town. And obviously being close to Copenhagen is lovely as well. We could go and explore there. So yeah, I'm very happy where I ended up.
Yeah, can you just describe for us, what does your days look like? Of course, you do a lot of training, but where do you live? Who do you hang out with?
I live with some other girls on the team. A couple of us live close together, mostly the internationals. We're kind of grouped together, and we're very obsessed with the sauna at the marina. So that's probably our favorite place to go. But yeah, we spend a lot of time at Capelli Sports Stadium. That's definitely just the route home and to training, and then sauna and home.
Sounds like a good plan or a good schedule for you. And of course, on the pitch, you've earned yourself an important place in the team as well. How do you see yourself and your role in this team out on the pitch?
I think I've always sort of embraced the hardworking, kind of gritty player role on a lot of the teams that I've played on, and whether, as I said, I was previously a defender, so that came very easily. But even in the midfield, I think I really like to be the player that can break up the opposition's attack, win the ball back, be physical, and set our attackers up well, and maybe joining the attack when I can. I haven't scored too many goals, but hoping to add more to the tally. So yeah, I think that role has always been one that I've enjoyed, but here on this team, especially under Kim, he's really given me the freedom to go forward as well, and kind of show the attacking presence that I can bring. So it's the best of both worlds, playing in the midfield and being able to defend and attack on this team.
Yeah, and just going back to what you said in the very beginning, the development you've gone through here at the club, can you describe that?
Yeah, for sure. I think just the speed of play, the technical ability of all the girls on this team, and just throughout the rest of the league has been a really, really great step in my development. It's made me think quicker, play quicker, and I think I'm definitely very much more confident going into the national team, having this experience, and the level of the league really pushed me.
And I know for sure, because I spoke with the coaches before you arrived here, they said she's a leader on the pitch, and you were with your actions. But now I know you are verbally a leader as well in the squad. There's been some development there as well for you as a leader within the squad?
For sure. I think again, that's always been a role that I've tended to embrace in teams that I'm on. But I think, at the beginning, you don't want to come in too strong, feel out all the players and see what role I can fall into. So I think last season I grew into that towards the end of the year. And now I think, especially with new players coming in, there's definitely been a role that I've needed to step up and fill. So I've been more than happy to do that. And on the field, off the field, I think just taking care of my teammates and helping them as much as I can is sort of the leadership role that I tend to take.
Yeah, because obviously you came almost a year ago now, last winter. That also meant that you were actually part of the former generation, so to speak.
Right.
We had quite a bit of Americans, especially at that time, who left in the summer. So have you seen yourself having to be sort of the link for some of the new foreign players that have come into the club this summer?
A little bit. There's been a couple of us, Bridget, Skiba, Daisy Cleverly as well, that are still around. So those two have been here even longer than me. So I think, we do a really good job on this team, I think, of bridging the gap. And all the Danish players were so welcoming to us that I think it makes it easy. They could refuse to speak English to us, but our Danish is not so good. But they're amazingly welcoming from the first training. So I hope that all the new players have felt that as well.
And obviously, just a half year then you were part of the team that won that trophy just here. So just put a few words on what did that mean for you and your start in HB Køge to be part of a team that actually clinched the title just a few months into your time here?
It was amazing. Yeah. When I was first talking to the coaches and signing with the club, they kind of said, we win here at the club and we like winning and we've won previously. So that's the goal, and anything less is kind of a disappointment and a failure. So that was, right up my alley. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. I love to win, obviously, who doesn't? So that was really special to be able to come into a team that was, already performing at a high level and really help them as much as I could, and eventually clinch the title at the end. We made it a little bit nerve-wracking for a second. I think the fans were starting to, get a bit nervous, but I think it was great. It was a great experience. So happy we got the gold.
Yeah, and it might be nerve-wracking again this season. It looks very tight. What does that demand from you and from your teammates in that team with the league being so tight as it is this season?
I think it's a good thing. I think we are ready to step up to the challenge, and we don't want easy games. We don't want, blowout games. We want to be challenged. We want to win the league and everyone say, wow, they played the best football. They beat us. They deserve to win. So I think that's where we're moving to. I think the style that we're playing and how we are showing up every weekend is very, very promising. And I think sometimes it doesn't always go your way, but there's other games in the league, not just ours, every week. So anything can happen.
And so in the end, just a final encouragement will be to get people out here and support you, because all games look pretty hard this season.
Yeah, I think they'll be great. They'll be very entertaining. We've been scoring lately. We've been in great battles with any team that we face. So yeah, we would love to see fans and especially young players. We love to see the kids come out and give us high fives on the side. It's really promising, and it helps us kind of know that we're hopefully doing something to inspire some young footballers here in the city. So yeah, we love it when there's a crowd and they're cheering and they're really on their feet for us. So we would love to have everyone out.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Emma, for taking part. I hope that people got to know you a little better now than they might have done before. So thank you very much. Og så skifter jeg over til dansk igen, og vil lige huske at gøre opmærksom på, at det altså er på lørdag. HB Køges kvindehold spiller deres næste kamp. Det er en hjemmekamp imod AGF. Og så lurer vi også lidt på, om der måske skal komme en ny række udsendelser her fra HB Køge på Køge TV og podcast. Jeg ved, at vores direktør Periode, han lurer på at få sig en snak med Maria Ure, som måske kommer lidt frem i medierne her i den kommende tid. Vi vil i hvert fald sige, hold øje med Ure og hold øje med Køge TV og podcasts sociale medieplatforme, så skal der nok komme en masse mere fra HB Køge. Med det vil jeg, Anders Ebbesen, sige tak, og tak til Emma Regan for at være med, og så ses vi forhåbentlig snart igen her på Køge TV og podcast.